Hey everybody, welcome back again to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. That's right, because we actually demonstrate it with our own voices. We have students that prove it and demonstrate it with their voices, and we are taking on some of the coolest isolated solo vocal tracks in all of pop and rock history, and we're doing an analysis on them and a vocal tutorial on them to show you how these guys got to these amazing spaces. All right, now before we get started, if you would mind please liking and subscribing to my channel, that would be super awesome. Please don't forget I have a singing course. The course is called How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else, and you can find it right here at KenTamplinVocalAcademy.com. Don't forget, I also have a free singing forums. You can go over there, join for free with over 20,000 other singers, all looking to get great at singing, just like you, if you're interested in singing at all. So with that said, I want to get started now. The next tutorial and vocal analysis of a solo vocal is one of my all-time favorite singers, and you guys know who it is. It's David Coverdale. Now, David, I'm not going to get into his history and talk about all the great, Deep Purple and the bands he's been in, but he's been one of my greatest vocal influences just because of his tone, his range, his power, his phrasing, his energy, his stamina, all of these things that I love about a rock singer kind of all come together in David. And Paul Rodgers and Lou Gramm and some of the other people I've mentioned. But David is way at the top, if not the very top of the food chain next to Dio and some others, right? So I chose Here I Go Again. We're gonna just fire it up, listen to it first, and we'll analyze and do tutorials along the way. So here it is.
I don't know where I'm going, but I sure know where I've been, hanging on the promises and songs of yesterday.
Cool. Now, from there, I want to talk about his opening line. Sounds like he has emphysema or asthma or something, like Darth Vader. And I've made fun of this before, but I don't know if it's because he had a lot of years of smoking. I don't know if he's just over dramatizing, of what he does, but he does it a lot. And I suspect it might be a little bit of both, where he's like, I don't know where I'm going. I lost one lung. Now I cut my smoking in half. Oh, it was an old joke. The guy goes to the doctors, the doctor says, oh, you have emphysema. I have to cut out one lung. And so now he's giving a testimony. I used to smoke 20 packs a day until I lost one lung. Now I've cut my smoking in half. That's kind of what this reminds me of. All right, back to the tutorial. Anyway, so with David, he starts with this really, really melodramatic, I don't know where I'm going, but I sure know where I've been, hanging on the promises and the songs of yesterday. Right? I should have taken that in the middle of that. But anyway, let's do this together. So he's kind of, he's really bright on the sound, but he adds brightness and air at the same time, back to back. So he'll go, like some fries. So do it with me. I don't know where I'm going. Right? So he's got some fry. It's not that hard to do. You could do it to kind of get some tone. So you hear some of the brightness. You hear some of the vocal abuse from his abusing his voice for a lot of years, but he's able to kind of pull it out and it sounds cool. That's where he's getting some of his distortion. So some fry. I don't know where I'm going. Some cool vibrato. Taking in that breath. But I sure know where I've been. You hear, sure know where I've been. You hear some air coming in, and you hear him trying to get some phonation and close the chords down. But I sure know where I've been, hanging on the promises and the songs of yesterday. And he does it like, kind of, scooping down into a note and then adding the vibrato. So it's very dramatic and it's very David, and we love him for that. And, I use that a lot too because I like it. Glenn Hughes does stuff, that kind of sound too. So let's continue. Here we go.
I don't know where I'm going, but I sure know where I've been.
Hear that? All the different technique.
Hanging on the promises in songs of yesterday. And I've made up my mind.
So I love that. And I've made up my mind, right? So instead of him vibratoing on a vowel, he vibratos on an NG consonant or an N consonant. And I've made up my mind. I ain't wasting no more time, right? So listen closely because it's pretty unorthodox. And again, it's an old Deep Purple kind of, style, real old school blues rock kind of thing.
And I've made up my mind. I ain't wasting no more time, but here I go again. Here I go again.
By the way, that's an interesting choice of here I go again, right? It's not a very typical pentatonic line to sing. So he reaches for some really cool, seventh blues licks. That's not a seven, but some seventh blues licks and stuff like that. That's another thing I like about him and Glenn Hughes is I loved a lot of their melodic stuff. Some of it was very pentatonic, minor pentatonic. And most people, when they write songs, it's easy to write in minor pentatonic keys like that, even if it's a major key song, because it's how we hear things in a minor key. I probably should grab a guitar and show you what I mean by this. So if we're singing this, so it's in the key of a G. So a minor pentatonic would be, right? So I don't know where I'm going. So it's really I don't know where I'm going, but I sure know where I've been. Hanging on the promises and the songs of yesterday. And I've made up my mind. I ain't wasting no more time. Right? Now that's all melodic and major key stuff, but I ain't wasting no more time. I ain't wasting no more time. Would be singing something in a minor pentatonic scale over a major chord, or even I ain't wasting no more time. That would be over a minor chord also. The reason I bring it up is a lot of people, when they write songs, they usually gravitate towards writing minor notes because they're easier and it's harder to find melodic notes in a major key. So that's one of the things I really like about David, what I love about Lou Gramm, what I like about Paul Rogers. Paul Rogers too sticks a lot of his blues licks and stuff and stays in minor key. And so stepping outside of that is really cool. The Beatles were amazing at stepping outside of that and singing in majors or in sevenths and playing in major sevenths too. So.
Though I keep searching for an answer,
that tone, so good.
I never seem to find what I'm looking for.
Now, he doesn't do this on his low notes, but he does do it on his higher notes. So, though I keep searching for an answer, he's keeping the vocal tract really small. Oh, I keep searching for an answer. Now, who else does this a lot is Paul Rogers. Baby, when I think about you, I think about love, sorry. Darling, when I live without you, I live without love, right? So he's keeping the vocal tract really small. David's doing the same thing. So let's do this together.
Keep searching for.
Though I keep searching for an answer. Oh, by the way, let's back this up. Diaphragmatic support means everything. You have to have it, guys. So let me sit up. Take in my breath. Though I keep searching for an answer, I never seem to find what I'm looking for. Okay, now let me do this without diaphragmatic support. Though I keep searching for an answer, I never seem to find what I'm looking for. So if you feel that you don't have strength in your sound, it's all going to your throat, this is why. It's this guy here that gives me the ability to relax and open up to these tubular kinds of sounds to be able to recreate these kinds of sounds. And I don't care what kind of singing it is. I don't care if it's rock, pop, country, R&B. You really have to have this first to do your work, to be able to relax the throat, to get the open spaces. Otherwise, you're going to pinch and squeeze, and the higher up you go, the more problematic that becomes. So let's go back. We'll listen to this one more time. Here we go.
Keep searching for an answer. I never seem to find what I'm looking for.
Here it comes.
Lord, I pray you give me strength to carry on.
Cool. Now, hear that break. Listen to it one more time, and then he has this cool tone that he's gotten, that he's developed over time. And the reason I bring this up is if you listen to early Deep Purple, and I'm not going to again go by way of history lesson here, but if you listen to early Deep Purple and you listen to how his voice maturated over time, like Dio, like Paul Rogers, like a lot of guys, Paul Rogers' voice actually cleaned up more over the years, which was kind of interesting, as opposed to Coverdale and as opposed to Dio and some others, and Wilson, even Aretha Franklin. I mean, they got dirtier and dirtier as the years went on. So did Bryan Adams. There's a lot of guys like that where their voice got dirtier. His did get dirtier, but it happened safely enough. Now he isn't in the best vocal health right now, which is a bummer. And my own cousin Sammy Hagar too, his voice got dirtier over the years. But had he been able to take care of his voice, he could have sang clean and dirty and percentages in between. I teach that in my singing course because it's very important for good vocal health. But listen to this great tone, because it's just great tone. Like,
pray you give me strength to carry on.
So he's compressing. He's compressing in the throat. He's going, good Lord. So you can do it with me. Good Lord. You can start out clean. Good Lord, I pray. You can do it clean first, and then good Lord, I pray you give me strength to carry on. Right. So kind of a Fry-ish-y kind of sound. Right. Let's continue.
Lord, I pray you give me strength to carry on.
So cool.
'Cause I know what it means.
Cool. Now, I don't advocate, it's not a word, advocate singing that deep in the throat in the AEs and right? I don't advocate that because it's too hard to release from that sound to go up. He's able to pull it off because he's a 427 Hemi engine, or he's an American muscle car kind of singer guy. Okay, so he's able to just muscle his way in and out of everything until it finally, ultimately, I believe, cost him his voice. Okay, so it's a very dangerous way to do that. So I'm going to show you two ways of doing this. Now, I did a version of this song myself. I'll put that in the description. So if you guys want to check out my version, the way I did it, I've done other Whitesnake songs, and I've got other students that have done Coverdale songs, Deep Purple songs. I'll put all those in the description so you can see how we did with singing Coverdale and some Glenn Hughes too. I'll put that in there because it's some similar technique. But I want you to listen to this one more time.
Pray you give me strength to carry on.
Okay, right here.
'Cause I know what it means.
Let's do that. 'Cause I know what it means. He's digging in. And Glenn Hughes does. And it almost has a raised laryngeal position. Right? We don't really want to do that, guys. I mean, you could do it for effect and it's cool, but what we want is we want to bring the sound up here into our resonators and up and into the face, and we want to shed the weight of the thickness of that sound on the bottom. Otherwise, it's going to be harder and harder and harder to release that sound to get range to go up top. So all you guys out there, I just can't do it. I can't get the range. I'm explaining why. It's strength in the abdomen, being able to relax and open up to open throat technique, to open up that throat to an open sound so that you have an openness and you're not pinching and squeezing and just literally taking a lasso around your neck to strangle yourself to try to get those notes out. Okay, let's listen to it one more time. Check it out.
'Cause I know what it means.
Okay, so, 'cause I know what it means. So instead of know what it means, I'm a little more in the face, okay?
To walk along the lonely street of dreams.
Lonely street of dreams.
And here I go again.
Okay, so again, if you listen to how open throat he is on the sound, he's actually opening up the throat and creating more space as he goes up. Check it out.
To walk along the lonely street of dreams.
To walk along. Really open on that ah vowel.
To walk along the lonely street of dreams.
Now, who else you can hear doing a lot of this correctly, actually, is Dio. And when there's lightning, he's really open on the sound. David's a little more on the street side. Ronnie's a little more on the operatic side of doing it. Ronnie's is a lot more safer on the sound in the way he approaches it. David's more of just a street guy, a blues bar, a fantastic blues singer just throwing down the way he knows how that he's just done it. Oh, by the way, I did read, I should say, an interview about David and about everything emanating from diaphragmatic support. I kid you not. Look me up on this. Go back and look at some of his earlier interviews on how he was able to get the strength, and he attributes 100% of his sound to diaphragmatic support, diaphragmatic strength. And he remembers early on, like it was shouting or calling or belting. That's exactly what I teach, guys. Exactly what I teach. Now, unless you really understand what that means, Dio said the same thing from playing the trumpet. He was able to maintain really good breath control from, blowing on a trumpet really long. So very, very similar in how they were able to achieve this to get to that. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to pull it off. No way. So let's continue.
And here I go again on my own.
So do this with me. Now, if you notice, he's not singing as throaty as he was in the verse. He's backed off the sound a little bit because he's kind of just moving into a melodic thing with a harmony that's helping him, helping do a lot of the work. You know what I mean? A lot of the hard work of the sound. So listen closely. He's backing off the sound a little bit.
And here I go again on my own.
Here I go again on my own. Right? He's not really heavy on the sound.
And here I go again on my own. Going down.
Now we get Rhoda. He does lean in a little bit there, more for effect, right? And that's cool because it kind of gives a little bit more energy to that spot, and it's not all the same. It doesn't sound real, synthetic or real homogenized.
Going down the only road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone.
Now, also too. He's not using that much effect. There is some effect, and the original recording, from what I remember, has more effect than this. So this is probably not all the effect that's on the record, and the sound was a little brighter. So we're not getting 100% of exactly the way it sounded. I personally would have preferred it if we had no effect at all, so we could see what it sounds completely naked and dry vocal. So we could have a little better analysis of what's really making a lot of the bigness of the sound, because you're hearing bigness that's not really throatal from your throat or guttural. It's actually the distortion and whatnot is being enhanced by a lot of the effects going on as well. Okay.
And I've made up my mind.
Now, have you noticed he stepped up the energy? And I've made up my mind. Now he's not as sensitive on it.
And I've made up my mind.
Love that tone.
I ain't wasting no more time. I'm just another heart in need of rescue.
That was in a singy song.
Waiting on love, sweet charity.
I love that.
And I'm gonna hold on for the rest of my days.
I love it. And I'm gonna hold on for the rest of my days. Right? You love that tone. It's killer.
'Cause I know what it means.
Now, if you notice on that means, he brought a little bit more into the mask. He didn't sing quite as throaty on this. Probably because two reasons. Probably because he's anticipating the chorus coming up, right? And we know all of this was punched in the studio, but we've heard him do it live a million times, and he was awesome live. The guy just throw down so good, especially in his earlier years through the 80s and early 90s, especially the 80s. But is that he's been singing for a while in the studio, and his voice is placed higher. Now, we've talked a lot about little boy voice, Michael Jackson voice. His voice is placed higher, and you can hear it now. If you go back and listen to the beginning of the song, it sounds a little more thick, a little more rough, a little more gruff, a little more thick, in the low end, and girthy in the sound. And now you can hear it kind of sounding a little thinner and a little smaller. And you could really tell that in a lot of David's stuff, where this happened a lot with his voice, especially towards the middle and end of songs, and also especially towards the middle and end of his concerts. Okay? Listen closely, smaller.
To walk along the lonely street of dreams.
He's in his element, right?
And here I go again on my own.
Cool.
Going down the only road I've ever
And by the way, even a drifter, I was born to walk alone, right? On the word born, he's a little flat. But it's cool because there's something about some singers, I've said this a few times, where they can be a little sharp and a little flat. It doesn't bother you because there's so much confidence and authority in the way they sing. Even David Bowie, let's say it's not a big authoritative singer. David Bowie was sharp and flat all over the place. Even actually Freddie Mercury was sharp and flat all over the place, especially live. But they just had so much conviction and so much authority when they sang. That we forgave them for it, or it just didn't bother us because it was that carbuncle that's just okay to make them human. They're just human, right? So I wanted to point that out along the way too. This is not perfect vocals, it's attitude vocals, and it's the confidence again, and just everything that goes with that.
And I've made up my mind.
So good.
I ain't wasting no more time. But here I go again.
Everything's the ah vowel, right? All vowel sounds stem from it's the la, ah, right? You learn that in my course. I cover all this in my singing course, exactly how to get to these places. Let's check this out.
And I've made up my mind. I ain't wasting no more time. But here I go again.
I love, here I go again. I love that, man. It's cool.
I ain't wasting no more time. But here I go again. Here I go again. Here I go again.
Again, right? There's some of those blues licks that we just love about it. Again. He didn't do all that extra trill, but again, right? Very, very deep purpley, Glenn Hughesy kind of thing to do.
Here I go again.
There you go.
Here I go.
Now, this is a big difference right here. On that scream, he goes from his chest sound to 100% reinforced falsetto. And you can tell at the end of the scream that he backs off the sound because he can't sing, he can't belt that high in the sound, and he can't really connect it to where it sounds like his natural singing, belting voice. The scream sounds like his belting voice, but when he comes off of it, he can't release back into his chest sound. At Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, I teach you to get off that scream or that reinforced falsetto that sounds just like your belted chest sound, and to have the mixed voice of a percentage of that upper register to go in and out of chest and head, to have one long powerful note rather than one or the other, okay? One or the other, the belt or the scream and falsetto, and missing that mid voice. Listen closely at the end of this, you'll see what I mean.
Here I go.
He goes, here I go, right? Now, actually, he didn't do it that, I don't want to say that cool. He didn't do it that precise at the end. Go! He tapers off, and you can hear that he can't bring it back down like, go! He can't bring it back down into chest because he's never developed the passaggio, the passageway from chest and head. He can't, to go up and down in this registration. He's never actually had the technical or spent the technical time to develop that. And that happens a lot. Most singers, they'll, Stephen Pearcy from Rat, it's like either his chest voice or a scream, and there's a lot of singers like that. You've got, man, I could just go on and on. I don't want to talk about other people, but Jeff Tate used a lot of scream, a lot of high register. So he would have a belted chest sound and a scream, and I could go on and on and on about a lot. Ian Gillan did that, Highway Star, right? So there's a lot of these people that did that, and this is an example of that again here.
Here I go.
Hear how small that is? Go! Right? It's real small. It's a go! He doesn't bring it in, back into chest. So, all right, let's move on past the solo here. Here we go, sorry. All right, and then there's one other thing I wanted to mention about this is when you work on your head voice, and I want to re-emphasize this because it's important for you newer singers out there, know that using too much head voice or reinforced falsetto like that can actually atrophy. What does that mean? It means weaken or break down your chest voice. So you got to be careful to get and work that passaggio and that mid voice to keep your chest voice strong. That's why in my singing course I say, hey, we develop the chest voice first as a foundation to support and sustain your head voice so that when you do get through the passaggio, you've built up the pillars to hold up that sound and get you in and out of that chest voice, mixed voice into head voice and back again. Okay, I wanted to remind myself to tell you that.
'Cause I know what it means to walk along the lonely street of dreams. And here I
By the way, no flown in choruses there. He didn't cut and paste the first chorus to the second chorus to the third chorus. This was all sung, guys. And that's also why we have this wonderful ebb and flow of energy that goes back and forth where you feel it's different. There's something that when someone cut and pastes a chorus, you go, I don't know, there's something about a sameness to the song. Oh, okay, it just sounds the same like all the way through. Yeah, because it's exactly the same as the first verse, first chorus, this, that, blah, blah, blah. In this case, it's different, so you have a different feeling, and it emotionally and the energy takes you different places because they re-sang it rather than just cut and pasting it from chorus to
go
chorus,
again on my own.
which is awesome.
Going down the only road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone. And I've made up my mind. I ain't wasting no more time.
Wasting no more time! Right? All that in the sound.
Here I go again on my own.
Changes it up again in a minute.
Going down the only road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone.
The word born is a little flat, but we don't care because we forgive him for it. Born to walk alone.
Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone. 'Cause I know what it means
I like this line.
to walk along the lonely street of dreams. But here I go again.
Love that. Here I go again. Right. All right. So if you guys want to check out my version, I put that in the description. I've done at least a couple Whitesnake songs, and I know that Gabriella has done Burn and something else. But anyway, we've got Fool for Your Lovin'. I forget, we did a few Whitesnake songs. So check those out and check out my next video.